On tonight's Gwinnett Prep Rally, favorites stood tall and history was ignored in a wild Region 8 showdown. A late rally capped off a thrilling classic between South Gwinnett and Brookwood. Grayson continued their dominant run in the second half of the season, crushing Archer for their fourth straight shutout. Parkview returned home against Berkmar, looking to rebound from last week's shocking loss. Greater Atlanta Christian tried to stay unbeaten in region play as they hosted rival Wesleyan. Plus, we sit down with South Gwinnett linebacker and future Bulldog Reggie Carter and much more on this edition of GPR, and it starts right now.
For 20 years, there's only been one home for high school sports, Gwinnett Prep Rally.
Hello and welcome to Gwinnett Prep Rally, now in our 20th season of covering high school athletics in Gwinnett County. And you can catch all the show right here on GCPS-TV for all the football, basketball, soccer, and baseball action from Class 6A all the way down to Single A. I'm Todd Klein alongside Will Hammock from the Gwinnett Daily Post. And Will, with just one more week remaining in the regular season, we still don't have a clear-cut champion in Region 8.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting final week. I think a lot of those teams, a couple of those teams are going to be watching not only their game, what's happening with the other game. Obviously, Parkview, South Gwinnett, and Grayson all still have a chance to win that region. So it'll be very interesting in those two games to see how they come out.
Well, let's get right to the highlights. And while Brookwood and South Gwinnett may be rivals due to both schools being located in the same city, the matchup on the field has been dominated by the Broncos, winning 24 of the last 28 meetings. But that overwhelming stat did not affect this year's Comets as they went on the road in the Battle of Snellville. GPR's Nathan Shutter has more.
Brookwood playing host to South Gwinnett in the Battle of Snellville, and the Comets will strike on their opening drive. Jordan Ramey rolls to his right and finds Bernard Morrison wide open, and he runs the last 15 yards into the end zone to give South a 7-0 lead. Later in the quarter, Brookwood down 14-0. Zach Moon drops back, and he's going for it all. Kai Priester hauls it in for the Bronco touchdown, but they still trail 14-7. South Gwinnett looking to pad that lead. Ramey swings it out to LJ Gainey on the screen pass. He weaves his way through the Brookwood defense all the way for 6, and the Comets take a 21-7 lead. Brookwood will go to the ground game. The handoff goes to Josh Brown, and he breaks free into the secondary, and he is gone. 44 yards on the touchdown run. We are all knotted at 21. Broncos back on the offensive. Moon looking downfield, and he airs it out to Priester. Priester makes the grab in stride along the sideline and races in for the touchdown. Brookwood up 31-21 at the break. Second half, Brookwood with a chance to increase their lead, but Moon's pass attempt is going to be picked off by Mason Hart, and he will return it deep into Bronco territory before getting forced out of bounds. Comets will take advantage. Ramey back to pass. He fires a bullet over the middle. Morrison makes the catch and gets into the end zone to cut the lead to 31-28. Fourth quarter, Brookwood threatening. Moon back to pass, and he finds his favorite target one more time as Priester makes the grab and backs his way in for the touchdown. Broncos back up by 10. South would overcome that deficit later in the quarter. Ramey is going for it all. The deep ball to Corey Keel. He makes the touchdown grab. Ramey would add a touchdown run to give South a 42-38 lead. Brookwood with one last chance on fourth down, but Moon's pass attempt is going to be picked off by Nicholas Hilton to seal the victory as South Gwinnett wins the Battle of Snellville 42-38 over Brookwood.
Well, Will, a big win there for South Gwinnett in this rivalry, but also for this season. South Gwinnett started a little slow, but really coming on at the right time of the year.
Yeah, their toughest games are right here in the end of the region schedule. It's definitely going to be a challenge for them. If they lost some of these games at the wrong time, they might not make the playoffs. But instead, they're turning it on and beating some of these teams that they're supposed to beat. And here they are in the last week of the regular season having a chance to win the region title. Yeah,
and while South has set themselves up nicely with that big win over Brookwood, where does Brookwood go from here? They're a playoff team, but this defense, it was tough going there at the end. They had that lead and couldn't hold it. Really need to get that fixed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, talking to Coach Cruz after the game, he said he didn't think they'd ever scored 38 points and lost a football game. I mean, that's how good the Brookwood defense typically has been, but definitely the worst Brookwood defense I've seen in the last 20, 25 years, and they really have trouble stopping folks, and they have to shore that up if they want to have success in the playoffs.
Well, back to the highlights, and since Grayson's surprising early season loss to Parkview, the Rams have been dominant on both sides of the ball, including 3 straight shutouts by the defense. And they look to extend that streak this past Friday on the road at Archer. Nathan Shutter has all the action from Lawrenceville.
Archer hoping to pull the upset over Grayson in their home finale. The upset bid wouldn't last long as David McTeer caps off the opening drive with a 1-yard touchdown run to give the Rams a 7-0 lead. Then on Grayson's second possession, the handoff goes to Wayne Gallman, and he powers his way into the end zone to put the visitors in control up 14-0. Still in the first quarter, and Grayson is once again knocking on the door. The pitch is to Robert Kimdichi, and the big guy gets to the outside and rumbles in for 6. PAT no good. Rams lead 20-0. Second quarter, and the Grayson offense is firing on all cylinders as Gallman takes it in from 10 yards out for his second touchdown on the night. 27-0 Grayson. Rams with the ball once again. McTeer looking to go downfield, but the pass is going to be picked off by Dylan Singleton, and he has a nice return into Grayson territory to set up the Archer offense. Later in the drive, Gabe Tiller's pass will be tipped by Corey Schaefer and intercepted by Ryan Carter, and he is heading the other way. With blockers leading, Carter will cut back across the field, and he won't be denied. 76 yards on the return, and Grayson goes to the half up 34-0. That domination will spill over to the third quarter. Tiller looking to pass. He's going to be picked off by Wayne Gallman. Tiller is the only man that has a chance, but Gallman's speed is too much. 41-0 Rams lead. And they will close things out later in the third quarter. Aries McCall takes the handoff, and he goes 18 yards for the score. And Grayson with another dominating performance, 48-0 over Archer.
Well, the way things have sorted out the last couple of weeks, Grayson still has a chance to win the region title, but I think regardless of whether they're the region champs or not, this is a team to be reckoned with in the state playoffs.
Yeah, I think they got a good chance to be the region champion, but and when they do, I mean, that defense, the way it's playing right now, I can't imagine that team losing in the playoffs. They're just shutting everybody down. They play, whether it's a top-notch offense. I mean, what they did to South Gwinnett a couple of weeks ago was just unbelievable. I think this team's primed for another state championship run.
And kind of playing out the string here for Archer, had that close call against Brookwood, that didn't go their way, and then it's kind of got a little dicey the last few weeks. Really just didn't have enough to go up against this very dominant Grayson team.
Yeah, it's not a great way to finish the season for Archer. I know they were disappointed. They wanted to build on that playoff berth last year and weren't able to do that, but they have a lot of talent coming up in their younger programs. I think they got some good players and some good leaders out of that group. So I think Coach Dyers likes his younger groups, and the future's definitely bright for the Tigers.
Well, more highlights in another city rivalry game with a lopsided history as the Berkmar Patriots look to snap a 12-game losing streak to Parkview and take the green flag back to their side of Lilburn. GPR's Matt Pelkey has the call.
Parkview hosted Berkmar Friday in the annual battle for the green flag. The home crowd was ready, but it was the visiting Patriots who got on the board early. Jaquan Morris is going to find Doran Miller down the right side. Miller slips a tackle and he takes it in. Berkmar up 7 early. The Panthers would quickly restore order though. Quarterback Mac Marshall avoids pressure, steps up and finds DeMonte Dawson streaking down the sideline. He takes a hit at the goal line, but he's in for the score. Parkview would score 38 unanswered points and rebound from last week's loss, 38-7.
Well, big win for Parkview. They win this big rivalry game. Now they got a big game against South Gwinnett, region title on the line.
Yeah, it's like Coach Flo said all along. They control their own destiny, and if they can win this game against South Gwinnett, they're going to win the region. They kind of had that slip up against Central that it kind of put them behind the 8 ball a little bit. They would have already had it clinched, but now they have to win this tough game against South Gwinnett in the last game of the season. It's not going to be easy.
Well, back to the highlights, and for the first time in several years, GAC and Wesleyan are reunited in the same region with both teams battling for a playoff seeding. Matt Pelkey has all the action from Norcross.
Greater Atlanta Christian welcomed rival Wesleyan Friday, looking to stay unbeaten in the region. But on the opening kickoff, the ball falls short of the Spartan return man, and Wolves special teamer Christian Stark comes flying in for the recovery. Wesleyan ball. That set up this. Will Anderson fires a dart over the middle to Charles Mack for the score and a 7-0 lead. But it wasn't all fun and games for the Wolves. GAC brought the pressure all game long. Here, Ben Lorick and Paul Carruthers combine on the sack. Rafe Chappell paced the Spartan offense, accounting for 4 touchdowns as Greater Atlanta Christian cruises, 42-20.
Well, nice win there for the Spartans, Will, and just a great season in Tim Hardy's first season over at the school.
Yeah, they have a great season going right now, and they can clinch their first region title since I think 2001 if they could win the game this Friday against Lovett. It's a great opportunity for this team. They have to play on the road, but I think they have the talent to do it, and they're playing very well at the moment.
And then Wesleyan's still going to get it in the playoffs, but not an easy road for the Wolves.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, in this whole region, the key was not to avoid that number 4 seed because you knew the first round matchup was going to be at Calhoun. Unfortunately, Wesleyan's lost all their games and forced themselves into that 4 seed. So they beat Hapeville to get in the playoffs, but now they have to play at Calhoun, which is going to be a very tough test in the first round.
Well, the South Gwinnett offense has grabbed plenty of headlines this season, but the Comets' on-field success will go as far as the defense will carry them, and they are led by senior linebacker Reggie Carter.
Tonight's team leader is presented by Breda Pest Management.
Expectations were high for South Gwinnett linebacker Reggie Carter when he stepped on the field last year as a junior, but it would all come to an abrupt end after tearing his ACL during the first game of the season.
Rehab was tough. It was more mental than anything. I had great players on my team that would encourage me to go. It'd be days I wouldn't want to go, and they encourage me to go. And then, they'll have me push myself, and we'll come out here on the weekends and we'll just work.
Facing the reality of being sidelined for an entire year, Carter decided to take on a new role with the team and work on the mental aspect of his game.
It's tough watching it from the sidelines, but then the coaches, they gave me a play call sheet, so I helped the scout team. I'd be Coach Carter, and I helped the scout team, and we'll run the plays and stuff. It helped me learn the scheme more, I would say. By doing all that, it helped me understand more of why we did this and why not do this, but it helped me understand the scheme a lot.
Despite the severity of his injury, it didn't slow down the recruiting process as Carter remained a top target for the nation's elite football programs.
I don't think Reggie is close to 100% yet of what he's going to be. I think, this year, next year this time, I think he's going to be a totally different ball player. Reggie worked extremely hard to get himself healthy again and come back, and I think a lot of colleges took notice of that too, his work ethic, what he does in the classroom, what he did on the field, and knew that he'd be able to bounce back and get his health again in his knee.
When it came time to make his college decision, Carter chose to remain in-state and attend the University of Georgia.
Well, I think he's going to be a great football player. He number one, he's a great student. He's going to take care of his academics. He's a kid with all the intangibles you look for in a football player, student, athlete. He's a leader. He has character. He has integrity. He's going to go over there and work his butt off for them.
Georgia, it felt like home. Every time I go up there, I like the coaches and I like the atmosphere. And then going there on game days and these game visits, it just adds more to it. It just felt like home.
Well, you can imagine for John Small and his staff have been aching to get Reggie Carter out on the field, and we're seeing this year why they were so high on this athlete.
Yeah, South was hit by a ton of injuries last year, and that was one of the biggest, losing Reggie. He's obviously an impact player on defense. They're a lot better on defense this year, and he's one of the reasons. He's been a dominant force at times. He had 2 big sacks in the win against Brookwood this past week, so I look for him to be a very good player for Georgia in the future.
Time now for Will's World. We put 60 seconds on the clock, and we get in the mind of our very own Will Hammock, and it's brought to you by Next Star Communications.
Yeah, we talked about Region 8, the region title being up for grabs. Region 7, it's pretty much locked down already. Norcross has had that sealed for a couple weeks. Congratulations to the Blue Devils and Coach Maloof. They've just been dominant all season. They beat 2 playoff teams from Region 8 and Parkview and South Gwinnett, and they've taken care of their own region. So just playing great football on both sides of the ball right now, and I look for that to continue in the playoffs. And Parkview football, they've had a lot of great number 12s over the year. They finally retired that jersey this year. Certainly the Myers brothers were excellent players. Jeff Francoeur was an excellent player. And it's just been kind of a legendary thing over at Parkview. A lot of those guys have worn that number, been 2 sports standouts, been guys that made great plays for state championship teams. So it's a good idea to retire that jersey. It definitely means a lot to that program. And shifting gears up to Mill Creek, Jacory Lewis is just really having a huge season. He's a guy that kind of came out of the blue in 8th grade, hadn't played a lot of football, and has turned into the leading rusher in Gwinnett County. He's really just tearing things up for Mill Creek right now. He's got a great offensive line to work behind, and he's a big, strong, powerful runner. May not look like it size-wise, but he'll run over some guys.
Well, we'll want to go back and talk a little bit about Norcross, maybe fair or unfair. Maybe there's a correlation with the Atlanta Falcons, which is great regular season success, but this Norcross team everybody's looking to see if they can do it in the playoffs. They certainly have the talent and having that great season, but can they get it done in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's the key. They've had some great teams under Keith Maloof. The last 2 region title teams, 06 and 07, did great, but weren't able to make it past the quarterfinals in the playoffs. They're going to be in a very difficult quadrant in the playoffs, and to get past that point, they're going to have to play some great football and probably beat Camden County, but just to get to the semifinals. So I think they have the talent to do it, but they're going to have to put it together and play their best football of the season to get to that point.
Time now to focus on standout performances, so let's move on to this week's Building Blocks, presented by Britt's Home Furnishing. And first up, Jordan Ramey from South Gwinnett. Big-time game and a big-time rivalry game, Will.
He had the game-winning touchdown run. He accounted for 5 touchdowns on this one. Made a lot of great deep throws. That was really the difference maker in this game, that he was able to throw some great deep balls. Has a lot of good receivers, and he's got the strong arm to get it downfield to him. 19 of 33, 382 yards. Just he's an excellent playmaker, and I think he's the difference from that team. He really makes them click.
Well, if you wanted to see some big-time offense, Will, the Battle of Snellville was the place to be. Kai Priester having just another huge game for the Broncos.
Yeah, Jamal Cole and Kai Priester are both excellent weapons in the passing attack, and Kai had a great game. School record 4 touchdown passes, catches, 6 catches, 155 yards. He's going to NC State, and I think he'll do very well up there. He's a very dynamic player. Certainly catches the ball well.
And we talked about the dominant way Grayson is playing. Wayne Gallman has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, he's stepping up more and more with the game. I think he's a key player. He's obviously a guy that's going to Clemson, so he's got a lot of talent. But rushed for 56 yards, scored 3 touchdowns, had the big interception there that he returned for a touchdown. Big-time playmaker in this game, but that's really something he's done all season long. I think he's having a great senior season, just doing it on both sides of the ball. And I think he's a guy that can play on either side of the ball in college.
Will, those were all great efforts. Who else played well last week that we should mention?
Wide receiver Michael Cheeks up at Mill Creek had a big game and a win over Haversham. Caught 4 passes and 3 of them went for touchdowns. So just a nice effort to lead that win.
Well, for the past 20 years, Gwinnett Prep Rally has been the county's #1 place for high school sports. And every week we will be sitting down with the show's creator, Jeff Batten, to take a look back at the show's great history.
You see Todd Klein, you see Will Hammock. Every week for the last 4 or 5 years, the Gwinnett Daily Post has really been a tremendous asset, not just the 2 guys on television, but the support that they give us behind the scenes. Really, without the Daily Post, we're a much different television show. Todd has been with us this whole time, and Todd has been an absolute blessing. And I think people think that Todd owns the company, and I think most of the time when somebody needs a DVD, they call the paper and they don't call us, but that's okay. But I really got to give props to Stan Autry back in 93, 94, 95. Stan Autry, as many people would know, was the sports writer, the high school sports writer for the Gwinnett Extra and also for the Maine Journal-Constitution. And it was Stan who did my show for no money, just as a volunteer, just to help me out in the first year. I think we got him a couple of bucks the year after that and the year after that, but certainly not anything close to being what he was worth. You've got Scott Bernardi, who came onto the show when Stan moved on to our Atlanta Prep Rally, and Scott did a great job. And it was really the sports writers that befriended us that made a huge impact. You get into a lot of situations and the newspaper people are trained to hate television and radio. Well, that was never the case here in Gwinnett County. Everybody's sort of cross-pollinated with everybody else, and it's just been a great thing to watch, the fact that we've had these great relationships with the newspaper guys. And again, it's Todd and Will and Corey Clark and Brandon and Steve Figueroa going back, who were great helpers in making Gwinnett Prep Rally a great show.
Well, just to be clear, I do not have an ownership stake in this company. However, I keep waiting for my stock shares to come in, get a few of those. But Will, over the years, I kind of think that what it's done is trickled down to the high school level, which you see writers participating in TV shows and stuff at the college level. That's kind of what we've done at this level, and I think you would agree that the show has done well for us as well, and vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it's helped our profile out in the community to be on a TV show like this. A lot of people that read the newspaper also watch TV, and the guys that a lot of people think this is all I do, do this TV show. Actually, I do write for the newspaper as well. But there's definitely a lot of followers of both, and I think it helps each other out in the long run.
Time now for Will to channel his inner Miss Cleo and give us some predictions on some key matchups on the gridiron this week. It's brought to you by Tommy Lee Carpets. We call it Beat the Post. We'll give you a chance to do exactly that. And we'll start off with a game that should be for a region title. It is not, but it's North Hall at Buford.
Yeah, I think Buford finally gets a tough game this week. North Hall is unbeaten in the region, but I think it's not too tough. The Wolves still win.
And we got some interesting matchups here. Could determine some playoff seeding, starting with Mill Creek at Collins Hill.
I think it's going to be a very good game, maybe the closest game of the week. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm planning to cover that one myself, but I think Mill Creek's playing the better of the 2 teams right now, really running the ball well. Look for the Hawks to win.
And the Region 8 title on the line. Will Parkview and South Gwinnett, if things go right, whoever wins this game could be the region champion.
Yeah, I think I like South Gwinnett to win this one. I think they're definitely playing the better football of the 2 teams right now. Parkview not nearly as effective without Chris Carson, so I like the Comets.
Then we have a big rivalry game. I don't know if it'll be a close game, though. North Gwinnett at Peachtree Ridge.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go North Gwinnett here by a pretty lopsided score. Peachtree Ridge had some kind of lighter weight opponents, but it gets really tough this week, and the Bulldogs are going to cruise into the playoffs.
And finally, we have Brookwood playing the juggernaut that is Grayson. Can Brookwood pull off the upset?
Yeah, the way those two teams are playing right now, I don't see Brookwood being able to beat Grayson. I think Grayson wins that game, and by virtue of South Gwinnett's win, I think Grayson will get the region title.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's GPR, but be sure to join us next week for more highlights and features with a full slate of Friday Night Football. And you can see Gwinnett Prep Rally every Tuesday through Friday right here on GCPS-TV. And you can go to GwinnettPrepRally.com for all the scheduling details. For Will Hammock and all of us here at GPR, I'm Todd Klein. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you under the lights.
Grab some wood there, bub.